Guru Sri Juta Padakamalang.
Hare Krishna, welcome to our channel Bhagavad-gita. Here it is, because here we have it, Bhagavad-gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and my name is Labangalatika. We have come to the 8th chapter, Attaining the Supreme, which is really what we want to do. And we have read all of Bhagavad-gita up to now, and we have learned so much. And at the same time, it's never just been a list of points that we want to learn, but it's been very, very relevant and very dynamic and very interesting. And now we're coming to that very specific point, attaining the Supreme. It's not just some distant dream. It is a reality, and Krishna is giving us very concise and exact instruction how it can be done. So I'm reading text 6. And also, if you're learning verses by heart, this is a good one to put on the list as well. Yang vapi smaran bhavang tyadyante kalevaram tang tam evaiti kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavitaha. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. Yes, so this is how it works. Sometimes they ask that because, as we have been hearing before, the understanding of life in this world very much includes reincarnation, karma and reincarnation. Those are the points we are adding to the table, because we have our local religions and we agree with most of it, because they're all coming from the same place. They're coming from God, and they're going the same place. They're taking us back to God. But we find that the Vedas in general and Bhagavad-gita particularly give us a little more. We get to know Krishna, and we get to understand the laws that govern this universe a little better. So karma and reincarnation, those are very useful concepts to understand. And then the question is, how does it work? We're living here now, and we can understand that. And sometimes people say, you only live once. And then I'm thinking, yeah, we only live once at a time. Then we die, and then we live again. But how do we get to the next place? So that's what Krishna is explaining here. Purport. The process of changing one's nature at the critical moment of death is here explained. A person who at the end of his life quits his body thinking of Krishna attains the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord. But it is not true that a person who thinks of something other than Krishna attains that same transcendental state. This is a point we should note very carefully. How can one die in the proper state of mind? Maharaj Bharata, although a great personality, thought of a deer at the end of his life, and so in his next life he was transferred into the body of a deer. Although as a deer he remembered his past activities, he had to accept that animal body. Of course, one's thoughts during the course of one's life accumulate to influence one's thought at the moment of death. So this life creates one's next life. If in one's present life one lives in a mode of goodness and always thinks of Krishna, it is possible for one to remember Krishna at the end of one's life. Yeah, so we hear about... it's so interesting, and it's so important. I notice that I read a little bit like I don't know, a little exaggerated, because I really want to stress every word that Prabhupada puts here. So what do we speak of first? A person who thinks of Krishna attains Krishna, but it's not true that the person who thinks of something other than Krishna attains the same transcendental nature. I was always a little, when I heard of some religions that claimed that those who did not believe in Jesus, I suppose, in particular, they would not go to heaven, they would go to hell, and they would burn there forever. That made me upset, actually. That made me question how is it possible that God, just for somebody missing the point in this life, that they will have some punishment that goes on forever. That was difficult for me to accept. And when I'm looking back, I haven't studied the Bible very completely, but when I'm looking back at what I know, then it seems to me that that is a misunderstanding. But lately I have heard another one, and that's that everybody who dies, they will all go to heaven. And that's also not... Krishna doesn't confirm that at all. He says whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain. So in this world, we heard it recently, there are 8,400,000 species of life, and we can take birth as human beings, and even in that level, there are so many different consciousness. We see that people come from different backgrounds, they have different natures, they live in different countries. So many ways, different ways to be a human being, and what to speak of all the other species in the universe, if we can be dogs and horses and trees and anything, that depends on our own consciousness. And that consciousness, one's thoughts during the course of one's life accumulate to influence one's thought at the moment of death. So that's what we hear. When we speak of karma, we don't get karma for our thoughts. We get karma for our actions. But the way we are thinking will also guide our actions. The way we think, that kind of, from that comes the way we speak, and from the way we speak, that from that way we will act. I mean, we see that in recent history. Before the Second World War, there was so much propaganda trying to classify certain people in the country as less, as second rate, by calling them different names and establishing a certain way of looking at them. So then when they started to move towards not just speaking badly about them, but actually performing violence, then it wasn't so difficult, because they had already established this way of thinking of them and talking about them, and then to take the next step to act it was an easy step to take. So in the same way, in this life, how we think, how we talk, and also how we act, that will determine our consciousness. So karma isn't just, that somebody keeps track of everything we do, and then if we haven't been good, we're not going to get any Christmas presents. But we're molding our own consciousness by the way we are behaving in this life. Then at the end of life, then the consciousness we have at the time of death will draw us, or actually super soul will bring us to a place where we can take birth on a befitting body, in a befitting life form. And we have the example of Maharaj Bharata. This is also from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Mahabharata, he was a very great king. This whole planet is actually named after him, Bharatvarsha, and sometimes we call India Bharatvarsha, because that's the place which has the most left from the Vedic culture. But previously to Maharaj Bharat, this earth planet, I can't remember, Ilavartavarsha, it had a different name. So the demigods, the denizens of the other planets in this universe, they know this planet as Bharatvarsha because of Maharaj Bharat. So he was a great king and a great devotee, and in order to do his duty as a king and to show a good example, at a certain point he renounced his kingdom, he renounced his riches, he renounced his beautiful wife, and went to the forest to meditate, because that's what you're supposed to do at a certain age. When you've done your duties in this world, then your next duty is to step out of this world and focus on your spiritual life. So at that time he was sitting down in meditation, and he lived very simply and very strictly in the forest. And somehow or another he noticed a deer who was fleeing from a I don't remember, a lion or something that was preying on it. And when she jumped, she gave birth to her little deer. And then she died. And Maharaj Bharata, being a compassionate devotee, saw that this deer is also one of Krishna's creations and he has no one to look after it. So he took care of it and he fed it and he cared for it. But he became very attached to it. So at the time of death, then when he was supposed to, at the time of death you can't do anything for anyone else. You're not going to be there. It's not going to help anyone else if you think about them. You're supposed to have your business in order, and you're supposed to have sorted out your will and your riches and your family. All of that's supposed to be done. So you can focus on the Supreme, like we heard in the last verse. Whoever at the end of life quits his body remembering me, Krishna says, he attains his nature. So that's our duty at the time of death, and it's also our great opportunity. And Maharaj Bharata had become so attached to this deer, so he was sitting down and trying to meditate, and he would think, oh, where is the deer? How is my deer doing? Oh, I have to... So when he died, he thought of this deer, so he took birth as a deer. But because this wasn't just some ordinary karma, Maharaj Bharata was a great devotee. So Krishna gave him the opportunity. He got the body of a deer, but in that body he remembered why. He remembered what happened. He remembered how he had forgotten that Krishna who he had been endeavoring to come closer to. So he was very serious as a deer. He went to the temple, he would pay his obeisances outside the temple, he would fast and only eat dry leaves. You never see deers performing austerity. So then in his next life he again got a human form, but that's another story, where he also was very serious about his spiritual life. So that's the example of Maharaj Bharata. If in one's present life one lives in the mode of goodness and always thinks of Krishna, it is possible for one to remember Krishna at the end of one's life. And how can we think constantly of Krishna in this life? That's the next sentence. If one is transcendentally absorbed in Krishna's service, then his next body will be a transcendental spiritual, not material. Therefore, the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare is the best process for successfully changing one's state of being at the end of one's life. Yes, so here we again get the invitation to perfecting our lives, completing the mission of self-realization in this life. And self-realization in this context doesn't just mean that we realize ourselves in a vacuum. It means we realize ourselves in relationship to Krishna. So this remembering Krishna at death depends on remembering Krishna in life. And remembering Krishna in life, the best way to do that is by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, and also by performing service, by becoming involved and attached to our service to Krishna. Then even at the times when we are not specifically sitting down and trying to meditate, in our daily life, the things we do will be connected to Krishna. They will remind us of Krishna, and we will think, oh, I'm cooking for Krishna. How can I do it better? How can I do it? How can I please Krishna more? And then we will create this natural remembrance, attachment, direction towards Krishna. It's not just some religious thing. It becomes our life. But in order to do that, we need the connection to Krishna. And here Prabhupada is stressing the meditation on the Hare Krishna mantra, because it is very, very important. And I want to say it is very, very it's a very, very powerful way to awaken our original spiritual consciousness. So therefore, if we are serious about wanting to fully realize ourselves in this world for who we are in the spiritual sense, then it is a good idea to take advantage of the process that works the best for it. So that's what we recommend: the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra and understanding. Of course, we speak about death all the time, but we think of death in connection with life, because remembering Krishna at the time of death, that is the accumulation of thinking of Krishna in our lives. And thinking of Krishna at the time of death means that it will carry us to the life that continues after the end of this body. So actually, it's not all about death, it's all about life. And especially the spiritual life, where we can peel away the unnecessary illusions and find that real actual person that we are, connecting to Krishna as the real actual person he is, and including actually everything in our lives in that. Thank you so much. I have left some links. I made playlists for all the other chapters. I found out links for ordering a Bhagavad-gita, finding Hare Krishna temple. And if there's anything, any questions, any thoughts on this at all, please leave them in the comment field and I'll come back to you. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for watching. We aim for updates every Tuesday and Friday. Please come back. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down there. We also have some links and information for you. And there is, of course, the subscribe button. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
I'm a Hare Krishna, and I approve this message. Subscribe.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.